Hello and welcome to today's Alteryx training. I am Fagwambi Kendi, data scientist at Syndrome, and today we'll be looking at the browse tool in Alteryx Designer. All right, so just an overview of the browse tool. The browse tool is basically to display data from a connected tool. So it's just a tool that helps you to see the results from the output of any other tool in Alteryx, right? So, and this tool is actually very useful if you want to get an overview of what is being returned by any tool of yours. Okay, so it's actually it comes in handy, right? And you can use this to check for an overview of individual fields in your data set, right? So we're going to be looking at how to use the browse tool, and then I'll be coming back to share more light on these bullet points. Right, so let's move to Alteryx Designer, and in here I have my input data tool, trying to read in the sample superstore Excel files. Okay, so if you want to know how to use the input data tool, you can always check for my video on the input data tool. All right, so today we'll be looking at the browse tool, and then if I run this just like this, I run this input data tool, right? If I run this, you can see in here, you can see this is the results window. This is called the results window in Alteryx. And then you can see what we have in here. And if you pay close attention to this, you see 2,118 out of about 9,994 records. And why is this so? And then you can see here saying partial results. That means all the results in here was not shown, right? And we know for this place in this configuration window, we know Alteryx just gives us the first 100 records. But then in our results window, we are supposed to see all the results if we want to see all the results. But you can see this here. If we scroll down, you can see the last result is what? 2,118 record, right? Why is this so? This is so because by default, right? By default, if you do not have the browse tool attached, right, the maximum size of the result that can be returned is just 1 megabyte. Okay, and you can see in here, right? So without the browse tool, the results window displays up to 1 MB of data from a tool, right? By default, like I said. All right, so and that's why we have it here. So when I bring in the browse tool, so the browser is in the input and output tool palette. Just in case you can't find it here, I just come here to this add or remove tool anchor, and then click. If it's unchecked, then you check it, and then you click on OK. Make sure you're in the input or output tool palette, right? And then you check this and click on OK. All right, so we have the browse tool in here, and then we bring it and then attach it to the input data tool. And then let's run this. So after running this, you can see clearly here, you can see we have 9,994 record displayed, right? And you can see it's about 1.5 MB, right? And that's why you can see one of the usefulness of the browser. We can see all our results, right? You can see here, right? We can see all our results using the browse tool. Okay, and this also shows us the number of fields or the number of columns you can have, right? So if we count this, if we carefully count this, I'm going to see we have 21 fields or 21 columns. All right. So, and one thing about the browse tool again is that this is actually very nice, right? What if we just want to see in our results, we just want to see maybe 4 different fields. You can just come in here and then click on the field you want to see, right? So probably I want to see the sales. I don't want to see the sales, or let's say I don't want to see the record row ID, the other ID. Let's say I want to see the other ID, and then let's pick the other dates. Then I don't want to see the ship dates. I don't want to see the ship mode. I don't want to see the country. I'm not interested in the states. Product ID, no. Let's leave category, and then you can see, right? You can see I've reduced it to 14 fields. Okay, so let's continue clicking, and until it becomes very obvious. So you can see I have 9 fields selected here, right? So you can see that with the browse tool, I can, select the field I want to view, right? So you can see I have 9 fields out of 21 fields, right? You can see I can just easily look at this and have an overview of what this is talking about, right? And apart from this, if you look at this very well, when you have your data tab and the metadata tab, if you click on the metadata tab, so basically metadata is just it gives details about something. So that's what metadata is, right? Just basically give details about a particular thing, all right? So if you look at the metadata, returns about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 fields, and the fields are name, type, size, source, and description. And if you see the name, this name here is the name of the fields or your column, right? So you can see row ID, and then the type is what, giving us the data type of these individual fields, and the size is what, the data size, right? So if you look at this here, and then the source is just a path to where this is located on my desktop, right, or my machine, right? So, and this description is probably we added the description to each of these field. Then you're going to see this in here. All right, so let's switch back to the data tab to continue what we have in here, right? One other nice thing about the browse tool is that if you look on the left hand side, right, you are going to see some things here, and this is called profiling, right? So profiling is basically showing an overview of the data, right? And this can actually be, this is automatically done by Alteryx, which is a very interesting tool, right? You can see the row ID by record, right? You can see if we switch, you can see different charts that Alteryx automatically gave us, right? You can see the sum of row IDs by ship dates, right? So you can see year and all that, right? So you can see this is by other dates. Now, probably you are saying, why is this giving me in terms of year, right? This is so because Alteryx is going to look at all your data sets for anyone that has to do with date, right? And so Alteryx is going to look at all these data sets, right? Of course, it's a powerful tool, right? So it looks at your data set and see the kind of date formats. So if you have everything in the range of years, it's going to return yes. And if you have all your data, your date here in just months, right? You're going to see this on a monthly basis. And that's why we're seeing years, right? Yeah. And then you can see this box and whisker plots. Alteryx automatically give or return, right? You can see, you can easily check the distribution of our data, all right? And one interesting thing about Alteryx again is that you can actually save this. If I want to save this image, right, you can save this as a PNG file, portable network graphics, right? You can click on this, and then let's say I want to save it. Just let me put this on my desktop and see. This is charts, my charts, right? So I'll just say my charts. Okay, and then I'll click on save. All right, so if I check this now, if I check my charts, and to double click this, and then again to see that will come up shortly. So you can see what we have in here, right? You can see what we have in here. Okay, you can see that this is the what? This is the chart we just saved from Alteryx, right? So you can see I can probably place this in a PowerPoint slide if I'm going to do a presentation or a demo, right? So you can see Alteryx is actually very powerful, right? You can see we can, and then if you come here, you can see something like uh, you know, showing us an overview of what we have in here. But then this is on the data level, right? We can actually still do this on the column level, right? I'm just zooming in to, check using my mouse, right? So we can have an overview on individual columns here. So let's say for the segment column, so if I click on this segment here, if I click on this, right, you can see what we have, right? You can see here that this tool is actually very interesting, right? You can see we have a bar chart showing my categories in my segments, right? You can see we have consumer as the highest segment here, followed by what's corporate and home office, right? You can see we can easily deduce information about a particular field, right? And for the segment field here, we can see the data quality. So what exactly is data quality? Okay, so data quality is just a way from the word data quality to show the quality of our data. So if your data is okay, so it means that there are no leading or empty white spaces or embedded lines in your data. And then, for example, this is showing okay to be 100%. That means in our segment field, there are no leading white spaces. And leading white spaces just means white spaces starting each word. So that is actually very significant in Alteryx. So if you bring any data into Alteryx, it's going to detect if there is a white space in front of it. And then trailing spaces is white space after um, this. So do not see this as a white space. This is just the end of the word, okay? And that's why here you can see 100% as the data quality in for the segment field, right? That means there are no trailing or leading spaces or embedded lines, okay, in the browse to for this particular field, right? And when you have something like nulls, right? If there's any value for nulls, it basically means that uh, number of values in that column are null, right? So if you probably have a null somewhere, it means that um, there are no values, right? And null is different from not okay, right? And it's different from empty. So an empty string is not a null, right? So if something is empty, it means um, it's a column containing strings with no values, right? So you need to understand the difference between nulls and empty strings. So probably I'll record a video to explain the difference between a null and an empty value. All right. So here you can see we have the consumer, the corporate, and the home office, and then we can see like an overview of this, and we can see the data quality from here. That 100% of the field in here, of the data for this field, you know, does not contain any leading white spaces or trailing white space or embedded lines. Okay, and then we can also see the frequency of segment values, right? Like we can see that this is the segment value. So of course, the first thing we can see here is the name of the field, which is what segments, right? And then we can also see some other informations. Now, bear it in mind that the information you see here depends solely on the data type of that particular field. So for example, in the segments field, this is a string data type, right? And this V here just stands for variable string. Okay, so this is a string data type, and then because it's a string data type, that is why we are seeing these fields and these values, right? So this is just telling us that we don't have any null, because I can see nulls to be 0. That means for this segment field, we have no nulls, right? And you can see here as a confirmation, non-nulls is what? 9,994. You can see the total records we have here is what? 9,994. And then if you look at this, you can see the longest length, that means the longest word we have in here is 11. Okay, and the shortest value is what? Consumer. The longest value is home office. So if we count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if we count 11, okay, so if we count this, let's count each 1, 2, 3, 4. Of course, the white spaces and white space needs to be counted. So if you have to count that too, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. You can see this is the longest value we have for the segment field, which is what? Home office. And then you can see the longest length is what? 11. So you can see we can have a good overview of our field. So let's toggle this to another one. So I'm going to come back here and include a numerical field. So let's say sales, for example. So let's say sales, and then let me take out one other thing. Okay, so let's say sales, for example. Okay, so sales. So you can see this is going to change soon, and what we have in here will change. Okay, so if I click on sales, right, you can see that the chart even changed, right? Because the chart being generated depends on the fields we are currently clicking on, right? And then you can see an overview of this. You can see in here we have a minimum value, a maximum value, an average value, standard deviation, and variance. Right? You can see there is no way we can calculate that for string values. That's why you can see that it was omitted for the string. But for numerical fields like sales, right, we have such information, right? And if you click on dates, for example, so you can see different results for different data type. All right, so you can see here we have the date time, which is for our dates, and then you can see the other things. So this is like the minimum dates, right? So just imagine we want to search for the first date. Any we made sales, right? The first date we made sales, you can easily get it from here, right? You can see, and then we can see that in 2017 we had more customers, right? Just by this browse information. So this here is called the profile information, as you can see here, profile information. All right. So that being said, and you can actually look at something. So for example, you can actually split this to have a better view if you need a better view. So you can just look at this. So for example, where we have let's say sales, for example, right? Sales, right? You can see we have different. So if I come here and just pick this, right, I can, probably if I want to compare this chart to this, right, I can easily do that using this, right? So you can this is left or right view, and as you can see, right, left or right view, and then this is top or bottom view, right, where this is placed on top of each other. So you can see here, right? So I'm just going to take this back and then return this to the single view. I always prefer the single view, but depends on, like I said, depends on what you want to achieve. Okay, so that being said, you can see the cell view are here, and what this basically does is that it can show you embedded lines, or for example, here where we cannot longer see what is in here, except I probably drag, right? Instead of doing that, I can just use my self viewer to achieve that. So I just click on this, and then I will see what is actually in that cell. So you can see how to use this self viewer. It's actually very helpful when you are probably doing some you're trying to check what exactly is in that data field. All right. So that's about it for the browse configuration in here. All right. So and one more thing, you can see when I wanted to add the browse tool, I just basically dragged from my tool palette to my canvas, right? Another way for you to drag the browse tool or to use the browse tool is you can right click on this tool and then see out add browse tool after. So you can see you have the browse tool and you can run this to get your tool. One other thing you can do to get the browse tool is let me delete this. So if you have your tool here, make sure you're clicking on that particular tool and then click on Shift Control B for boy, and you can see we have the browse tool again. So you can always run this. You can see, yeah. All right. So and one thing you need to understand is that you can actually so if you do not want to probably see this data profiling, you can actually turn it off just by going to options, go to user settings, edit user settings, and then look at this option here, which is collect and display data profile information. So if you do not want to see this whenever you are using the browse tool, so you can just uncheck this and then click on OK. And then you're going to see that if you run this now, you can see that you do not have profiling any data profile information in here, right? So see how this works. So I'm just going to turn that back on because I prefer um, doing that. Okay, so I prefer to see my data profiling information. Okay, just going to click on OK and then we run this. Okay, you can see it's coming up. All right, so I have this here already. All right, so you can see how to turn off the data profile information. And again, you can also deactivate your browse tool. And to do that, just find an empty area, click on any empty area. So I'm just going to click here, right? And then the workflow configuration window is going to pop up, right? And when this does, you're just going to come to the runtime, and then you see disable all browse tool. So if I click on this, let's see what happens. You can see that this is what's disabled. And then if I run this, it's the data we're going to have in here. You can see that this is no longer visible to us because what? I've disabled the browse tool. And if you want to turn that back on, just click on any empty cell here, right? And go to runtime and then uncheck this. And then you run your workflow again. All right. So you can see we are back here, right? And one more thing about the browse tool is that the browse tool now is now very awesome, where you can actually filter and sort your record set. Okay, so I can say here. So if I click on this, right? So just going to click on this, and then after clicking on this, what I want to probably do is that I want to say, okay, so just run this. Okay, so can see in here. So I can just come here and say I want to copy. No. Okay, so you can just try and sort this. Okay, it's in the new version. It's not in this version. Okay, yeah. So basically, you can actually sort and filter your results set. For this version, and filter the results set. Okay, here we have it. Okay, so if you click on segment here and click on these three dots, right? You click on these three dots, you can see filter, and then you can see sort. All right, so if I want to filter this, for example, I see probably I want to see just where the segment is equal to what consumer, right? So where string is equal to consumer, for example, where the segment is equal to consumer, right? And I click on apply. So you can see in here, all I have is what consumer. So you can see the segments, right? You can see how powerful that is. And then because I filtered it, you're going to see this new, this small filter icon beside the field name. Okay, so let's see, for example, let's see sales, right? Let's see sales, right? Let's say I want to also do this. I want to sort this, right? So I want to sort this. Okay, so you can see what I've done in here, right? So you can see here that I've, I did a sorting, assembly sort, right? You can see an assembly sort here, right? And then if you come back here and see this, so you can see I'm doing awesome things by, having a filter here to look at my result set, right? So I can even see how many persons, right, belong to the uh, consumer segment, right? By looking at this, right? So you can see you can actually achieve a lot with this browse tool and how it works, right? It's actually very interesting to work with. Okay, so from what we said, we've talked about data quality, and then this is just an overview of what you get, which I clearly stated that it depends on your data type. Okay, so if you remember, this is a numeric data type, which is record row ID. Okay, so if you click on sales, you can see this is sales, right? And it's also a what numeric ID. So if you click on, let's say, region, which is a string, right? You can see all this here, right? So these are just like um, compiling what you probably see when it depends on the data type. So you can see for numeric, you're going to see all this, and for date time, you're going to see all this. For Boolean, you're going to see this, and then for special tool, you're going to see all this. So that's about it for the browse tool and how to use it to get an overview of your results from any tool, and also you can filter and sort using the browse tool. You can filter your result set using the browse tool. You can check for the profile of your fields. You can streamline the fields you want to see at any particular time, right? You can also use the cell viewer option to, expand an embedded value in your field, right? And you can do much more with the browser. You can save files or your chart, right, in a PNG format where you can use for further presentation or demo and the likes. So I hope you enjoyed today's tutorial on the browse tool. Thank you very much, and see you next time. Bye.